Hey guys, this is Chris with Rhino Fabrication again. Today we're going to talk about our ST35Y and owning it for a year, the few things that I wish I had known before I bought it, and then we're going to go over some things that I really like about it and some things that I really don't like about it. Let me start with, I am not a machinist. Over the past year, I've learned a lot, and there's still a lot that I don't know. But I wanted to kind of go through some things from a complete newbie. If you're looking at purchasing one of these machines, some of the things that I really wish I had known. And some of those are basic knowledge to a shop or someone that's used to running these machines, or just really familiar with this type of the business. The first thing that I would probably do if I was to do this again, and it would be to look for a direct pay tax certificate. So you can, when you buy these machines, you have to pay taxes on it. And if you don't know that a lot of states will, you can do a direct pay where you pay the state directly, so that when you buy the machine, you don't have to pay whatever the sales tax is for your state when you purchase the machine. That could be thousands of dollars. The problem is, that is a very slow process. It could take you a couple months. So if you're looking at purchasing a machine, go ahead and start the process. The next thing that I think is probably the next important item on that list is your floor. The floor needs to have a certain amount of concrete set up for 28 days. So if you buy a machine, make sure that your floor is thick enough, and if you have to cut in the floor and re-pour, you want it to set for 28-30 days before the machine gets here. That's something that I didn't know. I happened to be very lucky, and my concrete was thick enough for the machine. And one extra step that I did on my machines is I put a 1-inch 12 by 12 plate under the feet of the machine to give it additional load distribution at each feet or each foot. The next important thing on my list of I wish I had known when I purchased this machine is power. Make sure you have plenty of power, or the right amount of power, and the right phase. I happen to be lucky on this because when I moved into this building, we redid all of the power, so I had exactly what I needed. But if I did not know, I could have spent a bunch of money putting in all the power to the building and completely been wrong. And then I could have had the extra expense of phase converters or some kind of converter. The next thing on the list is rigging. That's kind of minor, but line up a rigging company to take it off the machine or off of the truck and then put it on the floor in the place that you want it. There are plenty of riggers out there. If you go ahead and get that planned out and get several quotes, because for this machine we had a quote from $2,500 to $12,000. So do your due diligence, find the best rigging company that suits your budgetary and needs, and go from there on that. The last thing on this list of I wish I had known beforehand is determine what your growth plans are. Where do you see yourself in the future? What kind of jobs are you going to do with this machine? We're a job shop, so we could have one job today and a completely separate job or different job tomorrow. So that's a very important aspect to look at as far as not cornering yourself as far as like what machine to buy. For this machine, we got the tailstock. I kind of go back and forth. I wish I had gotten a sub spindle, but I have really used the tailstock a bunch for doing some of these larger pieces. Try to figure out what your largest material is going to be. That's important because you don't want to be limited by your through bore on your lathe. This is a 4-inch through bore that has its pluses and its minuses. I can turn 4-inch material, but it does not do great out of the box with turning like a 1/2-inch piece. One of the other things too is, do you need a 4th axis? This has a 4th axis. This is live tooling. I love that. That's I could not have done. I couldn't ask for anything more. I really like this 4th axis on this machine. But not everyone needs a 4th axis. Not everybody needs a tailstock or a sub spindle. So just think about your growth plans and the type of work that you're going to do with it. If you have a product that you just do that product or just plan to run that product on that machine, you kind of know. If you're a job shop like I am, where you never know what's coming in the next day, try to plan for that and see where you're going to go. So here's the 5 things that I like about this lathe. I kind of touched on this as well, whether a tailstock or a sub spindle, and I've really struggled with which one I wish I had the most, but I really do like the programmable tailstock because if I am running a part that I need a tailstock, I can do a short push, machine that at where it's the most rigid, and then push it, and then do a tailstock advance, and it just supports it through the whole way. So I can basically do a long part with short pushes to get the whole part machined like I need to, supported the most or the best way we can, and I can do it all from the VPS. One of the things that I really like about HAAS and the lathe is the YouTube videos that you can find just about how to do anything. Again, I have not been trained. I learned a lot of this from YouTube, and I did become friends with a few people that have a HAAS that I could bounce some ideas off of. Your local community college is a great resource if they have HAASes, which most of them do. So that's one thing that I really like about the lathe and having the resource for learning how to do something. Another thing that I really like about HAAS and this lathe is I like the interface. It's super easy to navigate. It's pretty intuitive. You just go through the menus. If since we're a job shop, we could just need to face something real quick. So that makes it really easy using the VPS for me to just do a quick VPS program to face something, for instance, or to turn a short piece down to a certain diameter. super easy, very intuitive. I really like that about this machine. As I said before, I love the large through bore on this machine. It has allowed me to do jobs that I would not have been able to do if I had a smaller bore. So I really like that. Again, like I mentioned before, there's a sacrifice. Yes, I can turn something big, but I really have to struggle to turn something that's like a 1/4 inch. I try not to turn anything smaller than like 1/2 inch, if at all possible, on this machine, but that's kind of the give or take of the situation. I said this before as well, I really like the Y-axis on this machine. It takes the guesswork about, or the guesswork of having to do another op on a different machine. I am literally able to do a complete part, even if I have to drill from the radial side and tap, and it just makes my life so much easier. I love how the live tooling is actually quieter than the main spindle. The main spindle is pretty loud, but I don't really care about that. It is what it is. I just don't care about it. But I love the sound of the live tooling as it's milling apart in there. Granted, it's not a mill. We don't use it like that. But if you have a mill or don't have a 4th axis on your mill, this is the next best thing, and it's phenomenal. I really like the bar feeder as well. We're not a production shop. Like I said, we're a job shop, but that doesn't mean that we won't run 50 to 500 parts. Being able to put a bunch of stock in the bar feeder and just have it auto feed, it makes our life a lot easier. We don't have to sit there and watch through the window, make sure it's feeding right. It just makes our life easier. There's really not an easier way to say it. In the VPS, we can set the bar push and it'll just make parts. So if we were a production shop, then it would be running the same part, shoot, all day, every day. But like I said, we're a job shop, but when we have to run 50 to 500 parts, it's a lifesaver. So here are 5 things that I really like about this machine. And I've kind of touched on it before, but one thing that I really like about this machine is I love the large work envelope. If I have to get into the machine and change some of the tooling or run a large part, the fact that I can run like a 32 or 33 inch part supported is phenomenal for me. And it really helps me kind of have a leg up over a lot of the companies local here that just can't run parts like that. So I really like that. So another thing that I really like about this machine is the VPS. I've touched on this before, but it is phenomenal. It doesn't really matter what you have to do. You could do a very complex part in the VPS and just do it in stages. So let's just say we need to face something, turn something, drill off-center holes on that face. You can do basically every aspect of that in the VPS and then chain it together into a program. So I really like that. It has made it a lot easier so that I don't have to run back to my laptop or computer and write a Mastercam program, if you will. Another thing that I really like about this machine is the parts catcher. Now, granted, it has a few little quirks that I really kind of wish they would take care of that I'll get into later. But I like the fact that I don't have to dig parts out of the bottom where the conveyor is. It just works. It doesn't. It makes it hard to catch really big parts, but small parts is super nice. So here's my list of things that I dislike about this machine. And keep in mind, I'm not a machinist, and there may be solutions for this already that I just don't know about. But as you can tell, we're pretty particular about our machines. We try to keep them clean, maintenance, and just looking nice, because these are nice machines, and we want them to stay that way. One of the things that I wish they would kind of address is, I don't know if you can see this on camera, but when the door opens, it drips oil. And I purposely didn't 3S that today because I knew we were going to do this video, and I wanted to point that out. I really wish they'd have some kind of a wiper up there to keep that from happening. We clean it every time we use the machine, so that's just something we've gotten used to. But it would be fantastic if they would they'd take care of that. So the next thing that I kind of wish that they would add to this, and they may have this, and I just, again, I'm super novice at this, is a safety zone that you can set up for your chuck. I can't tell you how bad it scares me about running my turret into my chuck. I will ruin a part, the first part, not running coolant, just to make sure that I'm not about to ruin the machine. I know on the tailstock you can add a safety zone for the turret. I just kind of wish that they had something for new guys like myself, somebody that's inexperienced and running one of these machines. One of the other things that I wish they would kind of address is on the console. If you notice, I've had this machine for a year. I still have the plastic on this machine because if you may or may not be able to see this, but the letters is starting to rub off, and so I wanted to keep this on here so my letters didn't end up being a blank. And I'm new enough to this machine to know that if I miss or rub off the Z-face measure, I won't have to look at a picture every time just to make sure that I am not doing something wrong. So that's one thing that I wish they would fix or have a better solution. So somebody out there, if you want a job opportunity as far as starting your own company, creating replacement protectors would be big. I would buy a year's supply. One other thing that I think that I would really like to see changed, and this may be a safety thing, and it's super minor, but I wish the glass was 1 inch further back, because when you're coming up close with tooling, and I mean really close, you really get that parallax effect because the glass is offset by an inch or two. I don't know what it is, but it would be really nice if you could see the part and the end of the chuck right there. So this last item, I really feel like I'm kind of petty on this because I really like my machines to stay nice and look new. And that's on the inside of the machine. I really kind of wish that they had some kind of a protective, replaceable piece of sheet metal here because the paint has been rubbed off from chips hitting it. It's like a sandblaster, and it'd be nice if that was just not even painted, or there was kind of a replaceable surface that kind of took the brunt of a lot of those chips. Again, that's probably super petty, and I'll live with it. It's not that big of a deal, but to me, it just makes the machine look bad. And like I said, these are really nice machines, and I like the look of them. So this next item that I really dislike about this machine, it probably caused me the most grief. I was, when I figured this was how it worked, I was very angry about this. And the fact that no one at the factory caught this really agitated me even more. So the problem is this. On a big bore kit, you have basically this spindle liner that brings it down to a 3-inch ID, and to get this out is a real chore, which I'll go through in a second. But if you're going to turn or use a 4-inch piece of material through the center, this has to come out. The problem with this is the following. This sheet metal, all of this had to come off in order to get this out. If you'll notice, it has some flats machined on here. So when I tried to pull this out, this was about a 1/4 inch or 3/8 inch on both of the flats, too tall. So I couldn't even get it out of the machine. And like I said, I'm a job shop. So I can be running a 4-inch piece of material at 9 a.m. and a 1/2-inch piece of material at 10 a.m. So being able to swap that out quickly is imperative. That's one of the reasons the spindle liners I really have a problem with, because there's no easy way to get them out unless you start or create or make a hook that sticks all the way in and pulls it out. So my solution to that was after I got this off, and I was not happy, I stuck this in my manual mill and took off exactly, I think, a 1/4. It may have been 3/8. I don't remember exactly. So now I can take this in and out of the machine without having to take the sheet metal off. And that is probably my largest complaint about any problem I've had on this machine. That was it. My next thing that I really dislike about this machine is this gap right here. So you're supposed to be able to push multiple length material. Well, there is, it's almost 2 feet. There's almost a 2-foot gap between where the material is supported here to where it goes into the spindle liner. So what that means is if you're not pushing 48 inches, it's going, as soon as it gets over the cantilever of the piece of material, it's going to fall forward. So we just don't cut anything less than 48 inches. If I have something less than that, I'll feed it from the front and then manually do that. That was a very big disappointment, because everything online that you see, this is like right here and this box isn't here. So I don't know what the deal with this box or why it's like that, but as you can see, that bar feeder is very far from that spindle, and I wish they would address that. So in conclusion, do I like this machine? Absolutely. I love this machine. Would I buy another one? Would not hesitate. Yes, it has a few minor hiccups or things that I wish were different, but I would not trade this machine for anything. I really like this machine. I really depend on this machine. Like I said, the few things that really bugged me, I can live through, but it really is a good machine. The ROI on this thing is fantastic. It's very quick to get up and running. With a local tool supplier, you can get tools that you need fairly quick and just about run whatever job. So in closing, I hope this really helped. If you're looking at purchasing one of these machines, or you have doubts whether whether you have the skill to run one or it's going to be too hard to learn. Keep in mind, I'm not a machinist. I never ran any type of equipment remotely similar to this. So if I can learn it, anybody can learn it. And but there are a few gotchas that, not really gotchas, but just things that you should be aware of. And if you fully understand this is kind of a limitation, then there's really no surprises. And so I tried to do my best to kind of outline most of my surprises that I ran into during my year of using this machine. So I hope that was helpful. In the next video, I'll show you kind of my solution to some of the problems that I had. The major problem, which I talked about, was the 4-inch spindle liner. I took care of that fairly easy, but this gap here, I'll go through how I took care of that. Yes, I ordered the 3-inch spindle liner kit and how I got it to work. So I'll go through that in another video and show y'all how to do it or how I did it, and you can kind of go from there.